last video, I told you pornography is the primary threat to child development. But social media and video games, these aren't just gateways, they are threats on their own. I'm Dr. Johann. I've spent 15 years watching what these technologies do to developing brains. And here's what I'd like you to understand. Even if your child doesn't encounter pornography, which is extremely common, by the way, social media and video games by themselves are crippling mental health and stealing child. The patterns are different for boys and girls, but the damage is real for both. Let me show you how this works. This is what it looks like for girls. Social media use leads to increase in depression and anxiety, self-harm, suicidality, eating disorders, loneliness, identity confusion, and ironically, social isolation. For boys, video games lead to academic failure, failure to launch, social withdrawal, anger problems, tantrums, lack of motivation, and inability to handle frustration. These aren't just minor problems. These are life-altering patterns. I talked to the mother of a boy, really a young man, who lives at home, doesn't have a job, takes one class a semester at a community college, and spends the rest of his time playing video games. He wants to become a professional gamer. With girls, the damage turns inward. These are called internalizing symptoms. So these are things like anxiety, depression, suicidality, self-harm, body hatred, and emotional dysregulation. You may not see major outbursts or tantrums. What you'll see is withdrawal from family life, increased social isolation when it comes to in-person events, and over time, lack of interest and engagement in the things that she used to enjoy. Why is social media so harmful for girls? One, their identity formation is taking place in public. Girls are supposed to be forming their identity within their family, within close friendships, through self-reflection. But instead, social media advertises this process in full public display where everything is recorded, everything is screenshot, everything is displayed before hundreds, thousands of anonymous individuals, and every mistake is on record forever. She's not developing a healthy identity. She's performing for an audience 24/7. Second, the comparison trap. Girls naturally compare themselves. We all do. But social media forces an impossible comparison. Everyone posts their best moments. Photos and videos are carefully edited and curated, and physical appearance is digitally altered. In other words, your daughter is comparing her day-to-day life to everyone else's highlight reel, and she's losing. 3, hypersensitivity to social rejection. Girls are more wired to be sensitive to social interactions than boys. This is normal and healthy, but social media weaponizes it because every post is a referendum on her self-worth. Every like or lack of like is a personal judgment. Comments from strangers on the internet are commonly cruel or disturbing, and fear of missing out is constant. 4, the loneliness paradox. This is one of my favorite ones. A study from the Academy of Psychological Sciences found that there's a bidirectional relationship between social media use and isolation. This means that greater isolation leads to greater social media use, as would be expected, but also greater social media use leads to greater sense of loneliness. So this is a classic vicious cycle, which builds on itself. Think about the contrast between social media and real friendships. Real friendships require vulnerability, presence, sincerity, authenticity, just wasting time together. This is the opposite of social media use, in which she may have hundreds of followers, many of which are probably middle-aged men, but no real friends. 5, the algorithm beats darkness. The algorithm is maximized for engagement. What's going to get engagement? What's going to get clicks? Content about self-harm and suicide, body transformation, weight loss, dieting, drama, conflict, comparison, and competition. The algorithm learns she's insecure about her body, so it feeds her more content about that, which makes her more insecure. Spiral continues. When I've seen girls with social media addiction, they can't concentrate, they can't tolerate distress, they can't spend time with nothing to do. They're depressed and anxious and don't have real friends. They're not capable, in fact, of real friendship because they don't know how to sacrifice for the good of someone else. They don't know how to experience discomfort. This isn't just anecdotal. There's evidence backing this up. Since 2010, depression and suicidality in teenage girls doubled and self-harm tripled. What's the common factor since 2010? Smartphones and social media access. Let's move on to video games, the destroyer of boys. So if girls experience internalizing symptoms, boys are more likely to experience externalizing symptoms. In other words, explosive anger, tantrums, rage, physical aggression, behavioral problems, fights and opposition, which result in academic failure and failure to launch. You're going to see a son who screams when you tell him to turn off the games, who punches the walls, who refuses to do homework, doesn't have in-person friends, and doesn't have any idea what to do if he's not within arm's reach of a screen. How do video games destroy boys? One, hijacking the achievement system. Boys and men are wired for achievement and accomplishment through challenges. They want to build things. They need to build things, take responsibility, solve problems, develop competence, and face real-world challenges. Video games provide a counterfeit version of this, virtual achievements instead of real achievements. Leveling up. These, of course, are much easier to do in the context of a video game. So even if the video game is replicating a real-life skill like starting a farm, which is actually a real video game that many people play, it makes it much more easier and the rewards much quicker. In fact, there was one case in which a couple neglected their own baby to the point that the baby died while they were playing a video game in which they were raising a baby, because raising real life babies are much more difficult, but they're also more rewarding. The video game provides instant gratification instead of delayed reward. And the brain can't tell the difference. It feels like it really has accomplished something in 6 hours of playing a video game, even though no real life skills have been developed. Second, learned passivity. Hours of gaming train the child to passively absorb entertainment, to consume, not to produce, to escape difficulties rather than engaging them. This is devastating for male development. Boys need to learn initiative, perseverance, leadership, responsibility, creativity. Gaming teaches the opposite of all this. Third, explosive emotional dysregulation. So here's the pattern that I see. The boy gets the video games. At first it's fine, but then when the parents ask him to turn it off over time, he gets more and more irritated and generally irritable. This leads to angry outbursts, snapping at the parent, yelling, screaming. It can lead to physical behaviors of punching wall, breaking holes into walls. Parents, especially moms, feel scared. Their teenage boy is starving, and then what do? They give in. The child is in fight or flight mode. And when he's absent from the video game, he's experiencing withdrawal like a drug addict. You cut off the supply, so he rages like an addict. And he doesn't have the emotional regulation to be able to navigate uncomfortable emotions. This generalizes to become his default response to any frustration. He can't handle demanding schoolwork, boring tasks, waiting for anything, being told no, or any discomfort. Fourth, academic collapse. Gaming destroys academic performance through direct time displacement. 4 hours of video games means 4 hours less of studying. Attention destruction. When the boy is studying, he can't concentrate, so it's very inefficient studying time. Dopamine dysregulation. The video games create an unnatural and heightened appetite for dopamine, which real-life activities like studying can't compete with. Sleep disruption. If he's not getting sleep, then he's not going to be able to concentrate at school. He's not going to be able to stay awake during homework. 5, social destruction. You may say he is socializing. He's talking with his friends in the video game. This isn't social, this is antisocial. Real socialization requires nonverbal communication, being able to manage conflicts face-to-face, physical presence, and cooperation. Gaming provides anonymous interaction, toxic communication, the most vile language you can imagine or can't imagine. No accountability for what is said, and isolation in a room alone. Boys who game excessively become socially retarded. They can't make eye contact, they don't shake your hand, they don't introduce themselves, and they can't carry on a small talk. What I've seen in these unfortunate young men is that they're like robots without an operating system. They're an empty shell, like a body without the soul. They have dull, listless expression. They're not motivated. They don't know what they're going to do next in their life. They don't have real world skills. They don't have any aspiration to start a family or do what's most fulfilling in life. And of course, on top of all this, social media and video games are a gateway to pornography. Social media provides hyper-sexualized content. It sells, it gets clicks. If you're scrolling, you're going to see it. Pornography companies even advertise directly on social media. Links or pictures can be shared through DMs, and predators have direct access. FBI reports 500,000 online predators. Video games include sexual content in the games themselves, like Grand Theft Auto, where you can hire a prostitute. In the gaming culture, pornography is normalized and even seen as a positive good, which is encouraged. So your daughter on Instagram is developing anxiety and depression from the platform itself and being fed sexualized content, which leads to pornography. Your son gaming is becoming angry, passive, and failing at school, and he's being recommended pornography sites from users of his video games. it's a double destruction. The good news is the solution is simple and easy. I'm going to give it to you right now. Never give your kids social media and video games. This is what girls need instead. Journaling for self-expression, in-person interactions, creative hobbies, physical activity, and quiet time or time in nature to reflect. What do boys need? Demanding physical work like manual labor, demanding responsibilities, real challenges, unstructured, unsupervised play, time outside, male mentorship. But they're going to be left out. No, they're going to be the only kids who can function in real life, have real friends, can handle frustration, aren't addicted, have developed real skills, and are actually happy. The bottom line, social media and video games are real threats in themselves. They cause depression, anxiety, and suicidality, especially in girls, rage, aggression, and academic failure, especially in boys, and for both addiction, dopamine dysregulation, social isolation, loneliness, and inability to function in the real world. On top of this, they serve as gateways to pornography. This is a comprehensive destruction of your child's development. The solution is never to start. Don't give them access. Children raised without social media and video games, they don't feel deprived. They feel alive. They have real friendships, a real childhood, real skills, real confidence, a real life. And when they see their peers trapped in screen addiction, they are so grateful to their parents. This is the final video in my foundation series. You now understand the neuroscience of screen damage, the pornography crisis, social media destruction, and the gaming trap. Next, I'm releasing my comprehensive booklet, Save Your Child from Digital Destruction, with complete implementation strategies. Before that, grab my free guide, The 4 Critical Moments Parents Miss. And if you're a school or parent group leader who needs me to speak to your community, check out my contact info in the description. Subscribe, grab the guide, and make the hard choices. This is Johann, helping you save your children from digital destruction.